Hey, welcome. We are talking about breath support today, and let me give you just a quick outline before I jump in. Also, if you're new, my name's Camille. I'm with 30 Day Singer. And so, our outline on breath support, commonly asked questions, all of that stuff. First, talking about the basics of breathing and breath support, why it's so important for good singing, exercises to build good breath support, visualizations and physical movements that help, especially if you're struggling, and then commonly asked questions. And after that, you'll have the chance to ask any questions and get them answered as well. So the basics of breathing and breath support, we have to start with posture. If you're not standing with good posture, if your shoulders are hunched over and your rib cage is collapsed, good breath support is very, very unlikely to happen. So let's just review our good posture. I'm standing today, and if you'd like to stand with me, I encourage it. And so we're going to start from the ground up. Make sure that your feet are about hip distance apart. We don't need to be too wide, and also don't want to be so narrow that we feel kind of unstable, that someone could easily just push us over. So hip distance apart. Make sure that your knees are not locked. This is kind of something that your choir teacher would kind of warn you about, is if you lock your knees, you might pass out. So don't lock those knees. Bend them a couple times. We want to be able to move when we sing. So nice free knees. Your hips. Hips, I'm only mentioning because some of us, myself included, have the tendency to kind of stand like this. I don't know if you can you see me? Call it the duck butt, where you have a sway in your lower back. So make sure that your hips are tucked under if you're like me and you have that kind of this posture where we just totally are out of alignment. So hips under you, belly soft and relaxed for now, shoulders down, back and relaxed. Arms are just hanging at your sides. You don't need to do anything with them. And last, our head. I like to imagine that there's a string that's drawing my head into the ceiling, drawing the top of my skull into the ceiling. That's kind of a ballerina sort of visualization, but it really works to make sure that we've got length in our spine. So try that with me. Imagine that I've got a string and I'm pulling your head into the ceiling. And you'll notice you'll feel some space in between your vertebrae, and you'll just get nice and tall really fast. All right, so posture is number one. Good breath support isn't going to happen without good posture. By the way, a lot of people ask, can I sing sitting down? Especially if you're a keyboard player or you're a guitar player that usually sits. Yes. So the principles we're talking about in terms of breath support and posture, you can take that into your seated position. The main difference is that obviously when you're seated, the chair is supporting you instead of your legs and your body. So it's a little bit harder to feel supported in a chair. But if you are seated, I encourage you to just scoot to the front of your chair so that you're not chilling, relaxed back in the chair. You still want to be sitting up nice and tall, spine long. And so you can practice this kind of standing to seated posture if you have a seat behind you. I don't, but if you're seated, find good seated posture. Sit down without changing anything. So don't, start rolling forward, doing weird stuff. Okay, great. So we've got our posture down. Now, let's talk about the different ways that we could breathe. We could breathe with our chest rising and falling. So go ahead and place your hand on your chest and let your chest rise and fall. We sometimes call this a clavicular breath because your clavicle is raising or rising and falling. So try that with me and just notice how that makes your body feel if we breathe like this. Lots of times, if you ask a little kid to take in a big breath, that's what they're going to do. They'll go, look what's happened to my posture. Already, I am doing weird stuff, and I have a lot of tension very close to my vocal instrument. Your vocal instrument is within your larynx or voice box or Adam's apple. Find that for me, find that little bump or notch. And notice how if I take a clavicular breath, see my neck muscles are engaged, and I have all of this tension in my upper body. I don't want that. You don't want that. We would like this whole area to remain nice and free. So that's reason number one why we train a lower body breath. So chest breath, that one's out. Now go ahead and place your hands on your ribs and see if you can expand your rib cage as you breathe. It should be happening naturally. It's not like you really have to make it happen, but just focus on that and see how your body feels. All right, feels good. My chest is pretty much staying still now. All right, now put your hand on your belly and try to make your belly move when you breathe. Sometimes this is easier for people if they breathe through their nose. And you imagine there's a balloon in your belly that you're filling up. All right, also feels pretty good. Last one's a little bit tricky. Place your hands on your back, particularly your upper back. You can feel a little bit more easily. Your rib cage obviously is a 360-degree kind of thing we've got. So if you place your hands on the back ribs, you should feel those expand. Your ribs protect your lungs, house your lungs. And so when your lungs expand, your ribs are expanding too. So again, you don't have to make this happen. It's happening. Just focus on it happening and see if you can feel that back expansion when you breathe. If you focus on it, you can feel it, but it is definitely subtle. All right, so the best breath for singing includes those last three types of breaths we tried, where our ribs, our belly, and our back all expanded. This happens naturally as long as you're not lifting your chest. So if you lift your chest, you might actually feel your ribs kind of come in, your belly come in, your back might not be moving quite as much. So that's the big no-no to avoid, is our chest lifting up. We started with posture because if you're standing with good posture and your chest is already lifted, you're not going to want to lift it anymore. So try that with me. Chest is nice and tall. You can feel your ribs are somewhat elevated as well. Compare less good posture with my chest collapsed, my shoulders rolling forward, my ribs collapsed. Now if I try to take in a big breath, it feels like there's something heavy on my chest and my belly. And I might feel like I want to lift that chest up. So start from a position in which your chest is already lifted. This is what our good posture looks like. Chest is lifted, rib cage is lifted. So now, shoulders relaxed, head, spine, string, remember all that. Now when I go to breathe, since my chest is already up, but it's relaxed, I don't have that thing going on. Now my belly and ribs and back want to move. So chest's already lifted. Now feel that belly, rib cage, and back move when you breathe in. And it feels really nice and free. I feel no tension up here. So if you're struggling with that, a lot of singers do kind of struggle to tap into that lower abdominal breath rather than just letting their chest rise and fall. If you're struggling with that, a couple things to try. One, practice breathing through your nose. We do breathe through our mouth for singing for two reasons, because our mouth is open to sing. So you don't want to close your mouth to breathe through your nose because you're just adding in an extra few steps. And second, we can take a much fuller breath in a shorter amount of time when we're breathing through our mouth. However, if you're not able to tap into that low belly, rib, and back breath, do try breathing through your nose. So let's try it right now. Hands on your belly, rib cage, so you can feel it move. Again, imagine there's a balloon inside your belly that we're filling up, and start breathing in and out through your nose. See if it's a little easier to tap into that breath. It should be. Remember, our chest is tall. And try again. Good. Another thing to try is laying down on your back. You won't be able to see me if I do that, but you can try that right now. If you want, get on the floor or another comfy surface. And again, place a hand on your belly. See if it's easier for you to relax those belly muscles and let your belly rise and fall. This is another just thing I want to mention before we go any further. I think the way that we talk about breath, a lot of times we talk about taking in a lot of air or, our inhale as something very active. And in reality, our breathing feels most natural if we think about letting the air in rather than taking it in. When I give you the instruction to take in a lot of air, that's what tends to happen. We tend to tense and we feel like we have to hold on to all that air. Rather, try this with me. Get into your good posture. Relax your belly muscles so they can move. If I'm tensing my belly muscles, they're not going to want to move. So, relaxed, soft belly. Now, when you drop your mouth open, think about just letting that air in. Your body knows how to breathe. If you're alive right now, your body knows how to breathe. So I know that we kind of tend to overcomplicate breathing for singing, but the only reason we have to get into all this nitty-gritty stuff is because people tend to breathe in a less efficient way when they start to sing. They start thinking, oh, I have to take in this huge breath, and things get weird. So really, we're trying to get your body to work in the most efficient, natural way possible. But I understand for some of you, the natural way feels like that breath. So training this low belly breath feels maybe less natural, but your body will work better once you've trained that. Okay, so the basics of breathing, we've already covered two really, really big things, our posture and our inhale. Our inhale is relaxed. It's a low belly, rib, and back expansion. Then our exhale, that's when we sing. And that is, to some, probably the hard part. Our goal when we exhale, when we sing, is to have this slow, steady, controlled supply of air. And to achieve that, we have to employ the muscles of our belly to help hold back some of that air or to help resist the air pressure that's built up underneath our vocal folds. We can't sing on loose or uncompressed air. If I do that, I run out of air in less than a second. If I have no compression and no air resistance, this is what I sound like. I take in a nice breath and then I sing, and I'm out of breath. I didn't have adequate cord closure, and my body was also not working to hold back that air. So, kind of two things that work hand in hand when it comes to breath support or controlling our exhale is our cord closure and our belly or body engagement. So the easiest way to train this for beginners, or the easiest way to feel this naturally happening, is to start with a hiss or with a lip trill. So if we try that now, if we take our nice relaxed inhale and now exhale on a hiss, what you'll feel, keep hissing if you want, what you'll feel is your belly pushes out just slightly. Your belly turns on a little bit to help hold back that air. The reason it does that is because you've closed your mouth opening or your aperture to this very, very small opening, so it can't let out all the air. Your body responds by helping to hold back that air. So let's try on the lip trill now. We'll sing on or something like that. If the lip trill doesn't work for you, you can try it on a V, a Z, Z, or even a sustained B sound. So try those, see what works for you. I know the lip trill is tricky for some singers. So Z, V, or B. And again, go ahead and place a hand on your upper belly. We'll inhale, we'll sing on any pitch. It doesn't matter what pitch you're singing on. We are just doing this to feel our belly naturally respond, push out just a little bit when we've closed our aperture and held back the air with our mouth. Okay, so lip trill, V, Z, or B. Here we go. Inhale. Exhale on tone. Relax. Inhale again. Exhale. Try something new this time. Nice. So if you're feeling your belly respond a little bit, great. If not, don't worry. We'll do some more exercises to get that belly to work. I want to talk, before we move on, before we wrap up the basics, talk about the diaphragm. A lot of you might have heard or read sing from the diaphragm or breathe from the diaphragm. And in reality, the diaphragm is this thin sheet of muscle underneath your lungs. The diaphragm works involuntarily. So if I asked you right now to contract your diaphragm or relax your diaphragm, you would not be able to do that. The diaphragm naturally contracts and lowers. So it's this thin sheet of muscle. It's dome-shaped underneath your lungs. So when your lungs are expanding and filling with air, your diaphragm naturally is lowering and contracting. When you start to exhale, your diaphragm relaxes and rises again. So when teachers or singers are telling you to breathe from your diaphragm or to sing from your diaphragm, a better way to put that would be breathe using your low belly, ribs, and back. But of course, that kind of takes too long. And so the whole breathe from your diaphragm or sing from your diaphragm is kind of a shorthand for that. The singing from your diaphragm thing we'll get into shortly. But the idea is, if we engage our abdominal muscles, because your diaphragm does attach to some of those abdominal muscles, if we engage our abdominal muscles, flex them out just a little bit, then your diaphragm will stay in a lower position for longer, meaning all of that air doesn't just rush out of your lungs. And it makes it easier on your vocal folds to hold back the air that you've taken in. Remember, we need to sing on compressed air, and we need this slow, steady stream of air supplied to our vocal folds. If your body is totally disengaged, if it's just up to your vocal folds, that's taxing. It's taxing on them because they're very, very small and they already have a job. They already are vibrating, coming together to chop up that air and create the sound wave that is your singing voice. So if your vocal folds also have to hold back a lot of air pressure, we tend to run into problems. It's not a great thing. So that's reason number 2 why we do want to engage our low belly, to help keep that diaphragm in a lower position and help resist that air pressure and prevent that air from just rushing out quickly. Okay. So basics we've got essentially. First, posture. Can't forget posture. Our inhale is low and relaxed. Our chest is already lifted, so we don't need to lift it up anymore. So chest is already lifted, inhales low and relaxed. You feel your belly, ribs, and back moving. On the exhale, we keep that expansion. So we've expanded our belly, ribs, and back. And when you start to sing, we try to keep that expansion mostly. Some singers are like, oh no, my belly's coming back in. And my answer for that is that's okay. We are using the air, we're just using it more slowly. So, anyways, kind of point two after the basics, why this is important for good singing. We've started touching on this. But my first point is that we have to sustain longer phrases, and there's more air required for singing than for speaking. So with singing, sometimes we have to hold back a higher volume of air, in particular when we're belting. So the demands of singing from a breath standpoint are just naturally higher than for singing. And we also, when we're just speaking, we can grab a breath, when we pause or at the end of a sentence. It's very rare that you'll find you're running out of breath when you're talking, because there's plenty of times to just grab a breath. When you're singing, now you're kind of locked in to this melody and rhythm, and there sometimes isn't a good time to breathe. Sometimes, this is a little bit of a tangent, but when singers are in the studio, they can do multiple takes and they can splice or cut and paste those takes together. So you might be listening to a song. A song example that comes to mind is Lewis Capaldi's "Someone You Loved." If you listen to the second chorus, I think it is, going into the bridge, "and I try to close my eyes," that part, you'll hear that he doesn't breathe. Like he doesn't breathe during that entire bridge. And I was working on this with a student, and I was like, hold up. Let's listen to a live version to see if he is actually making it through that entire bridge without breathing, or if that was just in the studio, they cut and pasted. So we listened to a live version compared to 0 breaths he took on the studio version. He took 3 breaths within that bridge. So that's just a little bit of a tangent, but sometimes the songs you're singing, you're listening to the live version, you're listening to the studio version, and you don't hear any space to breathe. That's because they can work studio magic, and the singer is not just doing one unedited take. They're not just singing the song start to finish. They press record, they press stop, and it's done. No, it's much more chopped up than that. So I encourage you to look for a live version, a real live version, not just like a live lip sync version, and then see where the artist is taking a breath. And that can give you a cue as to where you can take a breath. Okay, so dial it back. An important tangent, but anyways. The other second reason why good breath support is so important is that we, like we said before, have to sing on compressed air and resist the air pressure. Our abdominal muscles are helping out your tiny baby vocal folds. The last reason it's so important, and again, this is mostly review, is that those shallow or upward breaths bring in all this extra muscle tension very, very close to our instrument. And this is where we want it to be free and relaxed. All right, so on to some exercises to build good breath support. And we're trying to make this as easy as possible. So first, just practicing your belly breathing. Especially if this isn't coming naturally to you, I would step away from singing. Don't even think about singing yet, and just practice your low belly breath. So if you are a yoga or meditation person, you're probably in the practice of this already. If you're not, this might be something new. So go ahead and sit down. If you're more comfortable seated, you could even lay down like we said before, or if you're standing with me right now, Go ahead and just close those eyes, place your hands on your belly, and your only job right now, I'm going to keep my eyes closed, and it might be weird if you're just tuning in, but your only job right now is to relax your belly and let it move when you breathe. We're not forcing anything. So breathing either through your nose or through your mouth, and remember our intention is to let the air in, not to take a bunch of air in. So just let that air in. Your body knows what to do. We're just now in better posture and letting our belly relax so that your belly can move. Okay, so only job is to breathe. Start breathing either through your nose or through your mouth. You can stay here for as long as you want. I'm going to blink my eyes open and move on. But I always start my singing practice with just breath. I don't jump into singing at all. I just remind myself how to breathe in a low, relaxed way. All right, second exercise to build good breath support is exhaling on a hiss or a shh. Again, this is creating a small aperture that's basically mimicking or I'm trying to think of another word. There's another word that's better. Simulating. That's kind of simulating what's happening at your vocal folds. So we're going to inhale, same low, relaxed breath. Exhale on a hiss or a shh. But pay attention to one thing. If your belly is crunching in when you hiss, see if you can release your belly out. So right now, just try to push your belly out. It's relaxing those muscles and thinking about engaging down and out at the same time. I know that's kind of tricky, but see if you can train yourself to, instead of squeezing in, because in and up, that's not our friend when it comes to breath support. Down and out is our friend. So inhale, exhale, feel your belly muscles slightly push out instead of crunching in. Okay, so let's try this on a hiss pulse or a shh pulse, and then we'll also sustain. All right, and quickly just checking in the comments. Vivian's enjoying the lesson. Awesome. Alex says, I feel like it's easy to breathe from my belly abs, but it's harder to activate and also use my lower back. Agree 100%. Your lower back is, so that's why I said in the beginning of the lesson, feel closer to your mid or upper back. If you feel your lower back, you're going to be below your ribs. So of course that's going to be really difficult to feel. So upper or mid back and feel that natural rib cage movement. All right, here we go. We are first going to pulse on a hiss, and then in a little bit we'll focus on sustaining on that hiss. All right. Hands on your belly if that helps you. You can also keep a hand on your upper belly and a hand on your rib cage just to feel that movement. Remind yourself to relax. And we're going to exhale on a pulsing hiss. Tss, 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 tss. I have my hand here so you can see my belly pushing out ever so slightly. Let's try this again on a hiss or a shh. All right, inhale. Exhale, pulse. Tss, 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 tss. Nice. Now let's go for a sustain. So we'll go pulse, 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 sustain. So 4 pulses and 1 long held hiss or shh. All right, here goes. Inhale. Exhale, pulse for tss, 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 tss. When you run out of air, that's okay. All right, try again. Let's this time pulse 2 times and then sustain. Inhale, relaxed. Pulse 4. Tss, tss, By the way, I'm showing this going forward motion. Sometimes I might push down, and body movement really helps. So if that helps you, try it. I know it seems a little bit silly, but try either pushing forward or pushing down and see if that helps you to connect to this long, sustained, supported hiss. Okay, last time hissing or shing, and no more pulses, just one long sustain. This time add a movement for me. So either you're pushing down at your sides or you're pushing forward, whatever works for you. Try it out. You're in the comfort of your own home. Nobody can see you, so give it a try. Here we go. We're inhaling and then sustaining only. Inhale and sustain. Keep going if you want. Otherwise, go ahead and drop out. So I've got the benefit of having a screen and seeing myself. I can see when my posture is starting to get a little compromised. So I recommend for you at home, try this in front of a mirror and pay attention to what your posture is doing. A lot of singers will start to roll their shoulders forward, or their rib cage will start to collapse. So if that's you, remind yourself to keep those shoulders back, keep that chest and rib cage elevated, particularly when you're starting to run out of breath. That's when your body is going to want to crunch in just to squeeze out that air. Don't let it. Keep it up. I'll share actually three stories from different voice teachers I've had over the years. One voice teacher that I had told me that my belly needed to come out so much that it was touching the wall in front of me, and when I sang, my belly should stay touching the wall. I'm not that extreme, but he was getting at the idea of pushing out and continuing to push out when you sing. Another teacher of mine, a teacher I really, really liked, she had me sing with my arms up here and my hands resting right here. And when I sang, the second I started, my arms started to drop, she would go, "Keep them up." And I would have to reset that tall position. What she was getting at is keeping that rib cage elevated. Another teacher told me or gave me this visualization of when you've inhaled, the level of expansion that you've got. She said, imagine that somebody's put a belt or a chain around your abdomen, and you don't want that chain to drop. The chain will drop if you contract back and lose all of that space. So 3 visuals, I would say that, I took something from each of them. I wouldn't say that any of them really clicked for me right away. It's kind of sunk in over time. So I just want to encourage you, if these concepts are not clicking today, or if you've heard another voice teacher explain breathing and support in a different way, just know we're all doing our best to give you something to hang on to. If a visualization or an exercise doesn't work for you, give it a fair try, but if it doesn't work, move on. It's fine. All right. Let's do some singing now. So on a lip trill or one of our lip trill alternatives, so that's either z or v. Now we're going to sing and continue to feel that belly slightly pushing out as you sing. So we'll inhale, belly goes out. Exhale, belly stays out. A visualization I really like is you inhale and the chairs of your table Oh, goodness, that didn't make sense. The legs of your table. The legs of your table are set, and you don't want those legs to come out or come back in. That didn't make a lot of sense, did it? It helps me. If it helps you, great. As you're inhaling, imagine the legs of your table or chair are getting set right at your sides. And then as you sing, ah, you don't want ah, to collapse and lose that support underneath your table. All right. Okay. Lip trill, V, Z, something. Here we go. I actually do have a keyboard in front of me, so I'm going to use it. Let's start on really nice, simple 1-5-1 slide. And I'm going to start on C. So if you're an alto or soprano, start on C4. If you're a tenor or baritone or bass, start on C3. And we're going from C to G and back again like this. All right, still keep a hand on your belly and maybe a hand on your side if that helps you. As we sing, remember, we don't want to crunch in. We want to push out. Release your belly muscles out. Also, as we're singing, our pattern, think about it. It goes low, high, and back down to low. I want you to add a physical movement that's pushing down steadily or pushing forward steadily, that's not going like this. This is one connected phrase, one breath that we're singing on. The pitch is happening, but the pitch really isn't our focus. So this is kind of a trap that singers fall into sometimes, is they think the high note is the goal. And then on the way back down, they just lose their support because they think, oh, I reached the high note. And then they lose their support because they think, I don't have to worry about the low notes. Don't fall into that trap. We want to keep that support steady the whole time. So adding a motion, pushing down or pushing out. C to G, back to C, and then we'll move up. Here we go. Taking a nice breath and couple more. Walking back down. Let's now walk up the scale instead of sliding. So we're going to sing. Still keep that physical movement. This is still a connected phrase, one breath. So the pitch is changing, but don't let that, get into your head. Here we go, walking up and down the scale. Pushing and thinking down, 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 down. Here we go. Last one. Good. All right, lip trill, in my experience, that's the easiest exercise to feel your body naturally engage and get it to press out ever so slightly. Let's now get our belly to move. So we're going to sing on a he, or ho, ho. Every time we have a he or a ho, we want our belly to push out, to pulse out. Exactly the same as when we were doing that hiss pulse, tss, 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 and our belly was pulsing out, 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 out. Now we're singing, and here's our pattern. We'll go he, he, he. Pulse, 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 stay out. All right, give it a try, he or ho. I don't care what you sing on, but that ha, ha, ha will get our belly moving. And remember, it's not crunching in, it's pulsing out. Let's try it. Your starting note is A3 or A2. And it's a 1-3-5-3-1 pattern. All right, low belly breath, hand here, and go ahead and keep that motion going. Or if you want, you can pulse, 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 press. Give it a try. Here we are. He, 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 he. He, 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 he. Belly's moving, not your chest. If you're going he, he. So let's slow down for just a second in case that was you, and in case you were going he. Low belly breath. He. Still, belly's pushing out, not your chest. Here we go, a little slower. He. Back down. He. Speed it up again now. Here we are. He. Cool. Another thing to talk about. If you feel like your posture is amazing, your belly is relaxing, and then it's engaging down and out, but you still feel like you're losing a lot of air, particularly if you're singing a song and you're running out of air. One thing to consider is your level of cord closure. So I might have amazing support in my low belly, but if my vocal folds are not coming together cleanly and efficiently, if I'm singing with a really, really airy, breathy tone, my breath support is kind of wasted because I may be resisting that air, but it's kind of like I've opened the cap of my bottle instead of closing the cap and keeping that air. In reality, the cap isn't closed, it's slightly open, but think about it as, I've taken the cap all the way off and my vocal folds are not coming together very cleanly or for very long, and I'm going, it doesn't matter how much belly pressure I use, it's still not going to work. Sorry for the motorcycle outside. I think they're leaving. Okay. So if that's you, if you feel like you're losing a lot of air and you're singing with this breathy, airy tone, then I would add a consonant to your warm-up syllable or the syllable that you're practicing on. That helps provide some secondary air resistance. So we have air resistance from our belly, from our vocal folds, and then now we can add even more with a g sound or a b sound. So let's give that a try. We'll use the same pattern from before, and we'll sing on g g g g or b b b b b. All right, I'll go back and forth between them, gug and bub, and see if you can notice how your tone is clean, connected, it's not airy, and it's a little bit, it's easier to use less air because your vocal folds are working a little more efficiently. Here we go. Just gug, 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 going up a bit higher this time. Starting on B flat, sorry, B flat 3 or B flat 2. Want to make sure you're singing the right notes. And sing gug, 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 gug. Boop, 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 boop. Gug, 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 gug. Boop, 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 boop. Gug, 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 gug. Boop, 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 boop. Gug, 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 gug. Boop, 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 boop. Even when you get into head voice, I've flipped over into head voice for those top notes. Boop, boop, gug. It can still be clean and connected rather than going gug, 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 gug. If that's what I'm doing, that g is not helping me. Gug, 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 gug. So for a student like that that's going gug, 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 you're spending too much time on the vowel. Let that closure of the g or the b help you. Gug, 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 versus gug, 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 gug. Eventually, the goal is to be able to sustain those vowels in between. Gug, 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 without losing that chord closure. But until you get there, spend more time on the supportive consonant, less time on the vowel. All right. So the last thing, last kind of exercise we can do to build good breath support is to focus on our onset. Our onset is the way that we begin a note. And we actually just posted a video on 4 kinds of onset, and balanced onset being kind of our default, the best, most healthy kind of onset. So a balanced onset, basically it sounds like nothing. It sounds like you're starting a note, and it's neither breathy or too harsh, what we'd call a glottal stop or a glottal attack. All right, it's in between those where your pitch, let me rephrase, your vocal folds and your air are working at the same time. With a breathy onset, your air starts first and then your vocal folds come together. Ha, ha. With a glottal onset, your vocal folds come together and then your air begins flowing. Ah, ah. So we're going for this coordinated, balanced onset where air and vocal fold closure are happening at the same time. The reason I say to focus on onset is because the way that you start singing a note is the way you're going to sing that note. If we start breathy, if we go, it's really hard for me to add power or bring my vocal folds together. I guess it's a little bit easier going the other direction. If I start too hard, I can back off. But if you've started breathy, it's difficult to add compression or power to that. So training a clean, balanced onset and knowing what your tendency is. So if your tendency is to go breathy, you might actually want to use a little bit of that that uh-oh sound. That is a glottal onset, but it's not a glottal attack. You're not going, ouch. If you say the word up or apple, that's a nice glottal onset. So training just one note at a time. Seeing if you can land on that pitch with a balanced onset that's neither too harsh or too breathy. All right, a couple Visualizations and physical movements that help. We've already tried some of these. So one is out and out. What that means is you inhale, your belly and ribs come out. You exhale and sing, your belly and ribs stay out. Another is to continue your inhale or to sing on the inhale. This is kind of more of a classical idea. And what teachers will describe is that you inhale and then you pretend that instead of exhaling, you're continuing to inhale. It's a little bit confusing. But if you're interested in that, another voice teacher on here, Arden Kawin, she has a great video explaining that, and she just has solid technique when it comes to breath support anyways. So check her out if you're interested in that, or if you're kind of more of a classical singer. The other things that we've already tried are pressing down as you sing or pressing out as you sing. You can also have fists in front of you. The key here is that we feel supported, but that we're not locking up. So we want to feel that steady downward and outward support. We don't want to feel like we can't move, that our belly is locked up. Because if I lock up my belly, I'm locking my belly right now, you can hear it transfer to my voice, that my voice can't be free if my belly is locked. So your belly's got to move. And what else do I have? Oh, okay. One is your hand moving to match the length of the phrase. So if you're going, for example, mom, 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 that your hand is moving to match the length of the phrase instead of following the pitch. Or it could be that pressing down. Mom, 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 mom. Another one that I've used is actually having a singer inhale and bring their arms up, feeling how tall their ribs are when their arms are up, and then singing in this position. So we'd inhale, mom, 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 mom. Sorry, that tuning was bad, but the idea is you're not allowing that rib cage to drop. If your arms are up, your ribs are also up. Mom, 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 mom. Particularly if a student's having a difficult time getting through a specific phrase in a song, that's what we'll use, is lift your arms up when you inhale and then sing. And last visualization that I've found helpful is to imagine that your mouth is actually on your belly. And that's a silly one, and I actually got that from another voice teacher who used to be on YouTube named Felicia Ricci. And that was her visualization, is to pretend that your mouth, where you're singing, is on your belly. And that just, again, shifts your focus away from here. We want this to be relaxed, free of tension, and puts your focus down on your belly. Your belly muscles can take it. Your vocal folds can't. So when I'm singing, or when any singer is singing, after they're done singing, it's totally fine for their belly to be tired. We don't want your voice to be tired. And particularly for supporting long phrases, belting, singing at a higher volume, your belly might start to kind of feel it. It might start to feel, I don't want to say painful, but some pressure from holding that air back. We don't want your vocal folds feeling that pressure because they're so tiny, sensitive, and okay. Questions and answers. Augustina says, when I start sustaining, my belly's moving forward, but after a few seconds, it starts going back. Is that bad? It's not bad. I would say it's normal. Augustina, something that helped me with that is starting to engage my pelvic floor as well. Your pelvic floor, you can feel it contracting or pulling up if you pretend like you're trying to hold in pee. I know it's weird. But if you kind of think about releasing or bearing down, your pelvic floor goes a little bit lower. That can help you to keep that downward, outward motion. I know that's a little bit next level. We didn't really talk about the pelvic floor today, but anyways, that's something that I would look into. Daniel is asking, how do I achieve better intonation? Daniel, good question. Okay, Daniel, the best advice I can give you is to use an ear training app. The reason being, you need something or somebody giving you feedback, telling you, let's say the goal is to sing this note. You need someone telling you if you're actually singing that note. So I have a couple ear training app recommendations. One that is the most expensive, but the most popular is called Earmaster, and I think it's only $3.99 for a monthly subscription. And if you like it, you can purchase the software itself and then have it for life. Anyways, so I will give you the link for that. That's come highly recommended from some other students. And then here is a site with some more free or low cost ear training apps. Check those out. You want an app that has a chromatic tuner built in that's going to give you that feedback or show you on the screen if you're sharp or flat or in tune, if you don't have a teacher doing that for you. Okay, Kimmy is saying, I find it difficult to keep my neck muscles from tensing up. Interesting. So Kimmy, she likes the arms up idea. Kimmy, if your neck muscles are starting to lock up, slowly shake your head no. That'll disable those muscles from tensing. If they're in motion, they can't seize up. So give that a try. That also, Kimmy, I'm really glad you mentioned that because your neck muscles often, that's super, super common. And once singers disable those neck muscles, oftentimes their support muscles will turn on a little bit more to kind of take up the slack of what the neck muscles were trying to do. So thank you for bringing that up. Shake your head no very, very slowly as you sing. Don't let it get stuck. And hopefully you'll feel your support muscles will, take the baton. Augustina, while I try to breathe through my stomach, I feel my throat tensing up, sometimes also my chest. Augustina, I would spend some time just breathing through your nose. That's the easiest, most relaxed way to start this whole low belly breathing situation. And also, don't worry about taking in a lot of air. You don't need a ton of air. When our voice is working efficiently, when your vocal folds are coming together for a good amount of time, you don't need this like huge, huge breath. Sometimes if you take in too much breath, if you're like, then you have more air than you can actually use. And within a song, we don't typically have that much time to inhale anyways. That's why most of our work today was on controlling the exhale, not sustaining or extending our inhale, because we don't have time for that as singers. You have, that much time to breathe typically. Isaac is saying, when I sing with my diaphragm, I still feel it in my throat. So Isaac, your throat is still housing your vocal instrument. You're going to feel air come in through your throat. When you sing, there is going to be sensation and a lot of vibration, both in your throat and your mouth. So I'm wondering what you mean by feel it, because feeling it is fine. What we're trying to avoid is this extra muscle tension, feeling, strained or squeezing. I think my barometer, what I'll ask a student who's like, am I singing from my diaphragm? I'll ask, can you feel your belly working? Or does it feel like it is just chilling out and not helping you at all? And can you feel a difference from singing what we'd say with your throat versus using that belly, doing exercises like the lip trill, the he to get that belly engaged? Can you feel a difference? But yeah, your throat's still, this is still where your vocal instrument is. All right, guys, I gotta go. This was fun. Thank you for joining, and I will see you next time. If you have a suggestion for what to cover next, you can head to the 30-Day Singer Forum. Let me give you the link for that and drop a suggestion there. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Enjoy, rewind, go through those exercises again, and thank you so much. Alan, go ahead and head to the forum. He's asking about, what were you asking about? What things affect singing in tune? That's a bigger answer than we have time to go into. But Alan, let me give you an article to read, and if you have questions on that, you can ask on the forum because I gotta go, unfortunately. Also, by the way, we did have this is an even better answer, Alan. Go ahead and check out the other live lessons because we have one on intonation, we have one on ear training, we have one on how to tell if you're singing in tune. That's even better. So head there, see if your questions are answered, and if not, head to the forum. Alex, awesome. I'm so glad that you're enjoying tutorials and you're seeing improvement. That's great. All right, see you guys. Bye.